Okay, hope that everyone's doing well. Really nice to see you as always. Yashar koach to all of you for taking the time out of your very busy lives to learn some Torah on a Wednesday evening. So yashar koach to you. And as always, our learning tonight should be as a refuah sheleimah for Shira Bas Devorah Leah. I'm going to share my screen and let's get cracking. Okay, so in this week's Parshas Vayakhel-Pekudei, the longest Parsha that we're ever going to read on one Shabbos morning, the Torah is describing a lot of what's going to be involved with the building of the Mishkan, the donating to the Mishkan, all that's going to be involved in Moshe Rabbeinu asking the Jewish people to partake, to be involved in this amazing experience of giving to the Mishkan. The first Aliyah of our Parsha talks primarily about different kalim, different parts of the Mishkan that we're going to need to be donated. And then as the Parsha continues, the Jews will actually begin donating to the Mishkan. The Torah tells us in Perek Lamed Pasuk Chaf, Vayetzu kol adas b'nei Yisrael milifnei Moshe. That after Moshe Rabbeinu teaches the Bnei Yisrael all of the halachos, all of the different aspects and elements of the Mishkan, what they're going to need to do and what they're going to need to bring, the Torah finally concludes the Aliyah by saying that all the Jews, they left milifnei Moshe. They left from Moshe's presence. And the Orach Chaim, one of the Mefarshim on the Torah, asks a very simple question. We know the Torah doesn't waste a word. The Torah doesn't waste a letter. Asks the Orach Chaim, what's the Torah teaching us by adding the words milifnei Moshe? We know the Jews were in front of Moshe. The Parsha began by saying, Vayakhel Moshe, Moshe gathered them. We know they're in front of Moshe. Asks the Orach Chaim, why is it that the Pasuk seems to emphasize the fact that the Bnei Yisrael left milifnei Moshe, they left from the presence, from being in front of Moshe Rabbeinu? So while the Orach Chaim gives his own answers, I'd like to really focus on an answer of the Kotzker Rebbe, one of the Hasidic masters, who I think really provides with insight into what it means to be a Jew and what it means to connect to Hashem. The Darchei Musar quotes the Kotzker as saying the following: "Ta'af la'achar shebnei Yisrael yatzu milimudam etzel Moshe." Why does it say milifnei Moshe? Says the Alter of Kelm, because even after the Bnei Yisrael left from learning from Moshe, from gaining from Moshe, from being inspired by the words of Moshe, hayanikar aleihem, it was recognizable based on their actions, based on who they were and what they were doing. Shehem lamdu etzel Moshe. People saw the Jews and they're like, these are the Talmidim, these are the students of Moshe Rabbeinu. Very often we're used to getting into the mindset of thinking, okay, when I'm in school, I'm going to act one way. When I'm on the basketball court, I'm going to act a different way. Says that the Bnei Yisrael, it's not true. We're always milifnei Moshe. We're always in front of our teacher, Moshe Rabbeinu. Even if I'm not physically here, even if I'm not physically learning and gaining and being inspired from him and by him, at the end of the day, even says the Alter Mikelm that even when they weren't in front of him, even when they weren't in his presence, they would always feel and act as if they were in front of him, and certainly always thinking about the relationship that they had with Moshe Rabbeinu. V'lo rak b'shas limudam. It wasn't only when they were learning from him, when we're in school, when we're in the shul, when we're in the Beit Midrash. Ela b'chol makom shahayu. Wherever they were, even after they left, Nikar Aleim, Ki Lamdu Torah Eitzel Moshe Rabbeinu. It was clear, it was obvious, it was apparent that these were the students of Moshe Rabbeinu. These were the people who learned from him, who gained from him, and who were inspired by him. That's really, at least from my perspective, one of the most important lessons that we often forget about, that we often don't focus on. We think I'm one kind of Jew when I'm in school, when I'm in shul, when I'm in front of my parents, and I'm a different kind of person sometimes when I'm on the basketball court, when I'm playing hockey, when I'm in camp, when I'm in a different type of environment. And the Bnei Yisrael teaches you that's not true, that we're always should think about who our role models are. Hopefully all of us have role models, have parents, have teachers, have rebbeim, have friends who can serve as role models for us. But it's also important for us to realize and recognize that we're also role models for other people. The other people look to us and want to emulate us, and want to be like us, and want to be inspired by us, typically not by what we say, but by how we act and how we live. Or what we say, our words are nice, but at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words, and that's what the Bnei Yisrael did. They understood that we're the Talmidim, we're the students of Moshe Rabbeinu, whether we're in front of him or not. And it's funny because a few years ago, I was at I'm not going to go into the whole details of why this happened. I was in a car dealership in Long Island, and I was meeting there with Steven Matz, who was a pitcher at the time for the New York Mets. And now he's recently traded from the Mets, so he's not there, he's not in the Mets anymore. But I was schmoozing with him a little bit, and one of the things that he told me was that his 5th grade baseball coach was really the guy who inspired him, who propelled him, who allowed him to get to the place that he was as a New York Met. It wasn't the minor league coach. It wasn't any of his major league coaches. It was that 5th grade coach that he had who taught him to believe in himself, who taught him what it means to be a baseball player, what it means to be a mentor, what it means to be a person that people look to emulate and respect. And that's really, I think, perhaps what the B'nai Yisrael are teaching us here, the importance of having role models and the importance of being role models as well. And the truth is, the same is true if we think about it in Sefer Parshas. When Yosef HaTzadik is in Mitzrayim and he's confronted by the wife of Potiphar who wants to have an inappropriate relationship with him. And what was it that allowed Yosef, who's in the pit of spiritual despair, completely disconnected from anywhere that was related to Hashem? He was surrounded by people who were immoral, who didn't care about anything that was meaningful, and completely disconnected from spirituality. Yet, what was it that allowed Yosef HaTzadik to overcome his temptation, to overcome his Yetzer Hara, despite the environment in which he lived, to still be a good person, to still make the right choices? The Gemara Maseches Sota tells us, which Rashi quotes in Sefer Parshas, that he saw the Diukno Shel Aviv. He saw the image of his father Yaakov Avinu, and that was an image Yosef understood. I have to act like I'm the son of Yaakov, whether I'm in front of him or not, whether I'm currently learning in his presence, learning from him, or I'm in Mitzrayim, but I'm still his son, I'm still his student. I still have to be inspired by him and learn from him and use him as my role model. And that's what Yosef HaTzadik did in Sefer Parshas. But the truth is that this is really a greater idea, a more relevant concept as it pertains to a pasuk that we say hopefully every single day. The Torah tells us, a very famous pasuk, perhaps the most famous pasuk in the Torah, V'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. The Torah tells us in Parshas Vayachanan that it's our job to love the Ribono Shel Olam. It's a mitzvah, it's an obligation that we love Hashem. And many of the Mefarshim, the Ma'amari Chazal, many people try to understand how could it possibly be that there's a mitzvah in the Torah to love the Ribono Shel Olam. Love is a feeling. You can command me to put on tefillin, you can command me to shake lulav and esrog, you can command me to blow shofar, but how can it be that you can command me to love Hashem? So there are many, many answers given to this question. One more famous idea is mentioned in the Gemara Maseches Yoma, where the Gemara says, what does it mean? Kidetanya, like the Brisa tells us, V'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. The Torah tells us that you have to love Hashem. Says the Gemara in Yoma, what does that mean to love Hashem? Sheyeh Shem Shamayim mitahev al yodecha. Loving Hashem means that people love Hashem through you. That we are vehicles for other people to look at us, to be inspired by us, to say, wow, that's about Torah. That's about Torah. That's someone who has a relationship with Hashem. Again, not based on our act, not based on what we say, but based on our actions, based on who we are, and based on what we do. If we're doing business, we should act in a certain way that is sweet, that is kind, that is sensitive. Other people, non-Jews, should be able to say about a person, Ashrei Aviv, Shalom Du Torah. Wow, that person must have amazing, amazing parents. Ashrei Rabo, Shalom Du Torah. Wow, that person must have amazing, amazing teachers. Because at the end of the day, whether we're in front of our parents or not, whether we're in front of our teachers or not, we have to act in a way that shows people and really shows ourselves. We shouldn't do it for other people. We should really do it for ourselves. That shows that at the end of the day, we not only heard what our teachers in Rebbeim had to say, we heard what our parents had to teach us, but we live their teachings, like the Jews live the teachings of Moshe Rabbeinu. And people are going to look at us and say, Olam Labrios, Shalom Du Torah. Oh my gosh, I feel sorry for people that don't learn Torah. I feel bad for people that don't go to that person's school, that don't go to that person's yeshiva, that don't live in that person's community, that don't surround themselves by the people that person has learned from, that person has gained from. Look how refined that person is. Look how sweet that person is. Look how amazing that person is. Our job when we go into the world is that people look at us and they say about us, wow, that person's a special person. There are people, we're so used to living in our bubble. We live in Teaneck, we live in Bergenfield, we go to the schools that we go to, and we're used to everyone, okay, we're good, we're in a good spot. But there are people in this world who don't know what Jews are. There are people in this world who actually think that Jews have horns. There are people in this world who don't recognize, who look at the news and say, oh, Jews just steal and do this and do that. Each and every one of us are messengers to make a Kiddush Hashem. Each and every one of us are messengers to make a difference in the world by our actions, but to bring Hashem into the world through our actions, to show other people that we truly love Hashem. And when you truly love Hashem, you have no choice but to want to share that love with other people. And the truth is, that's what the Gemara in Sota says about Avram Avinu. That what does it mean that Avram Avinu loved Hashem? The Gemara says that he was the first person to actually call out in the name of Hashem, to truly love Hashem. The Gemara says that after he would have company, we know Avram Avinu would have many guests in his tent, many guests in his home, and they were getting ready to say thank you to Avraham. And Amar Lahem, Avram would say to his guests, you guests you think that you ate from me and my wife Sarah? Absolutely not. You ate from the Rabboni Shalom's food. Hashem gave us food to give you. We're just messengers. But ultimately, it's all from Hashem. Avram Avinu loved Hashem so much, he had no choice but to share that with other people, to teach other people making brachos, to teach other people what it means to have a relationship with Hashem, to bring Hashem into our lives. And that's what the Rambam says as well. When the Rambam talks about this mitzvah of loving Hashem, he says, the third mitzvah in the Torah, says the Rambam, is to love Hashem. Says the Rambam, that when people look at us, that when people see us, how we act and how we live our lives, they say, I want to be like him. It's like, I'm sure a lot of us have heard the expression, to be like Mike. Everyone wants to be like Michael Jordan. Everyone wants to be like Mike. Our job, we're all Michael Jordans. Everyone, each and every one of us has that responsibility, has that imperative to inspire other people, to help other people want to be like us. By the way, it could be our friends too. We may have friends who aren't so into things. We may have friends who aren't so, whatever. They don't like davening. They don't like this and like that. We're the ones taking time out of our busy schedules on a Wednesday night to learn Torah. Maybe we can inspire them. Again, not by telling them what to do, but showing them. I have fun when I'm playing sports, and I also take davening seriously and learning seriously and my relationship with Hashem seriously. And that's who I am, and that's what I do. If I truly love Hashem, then what I do is want to share that with other people. When I love someone or when I love something, I share that person or I share that thing with other people. This past summer, as I'm sure many of us had very interesting summers, so I ran a camp for a bunch of weeks for different age groups, and there was one week where I decided, let's go, we're going on a trip every day, so we went horseback. I wanted to go horseback riding. I wanted to take the group horseback riding. Figure it's a random thing that most people don't do. It's kind of interesting. Why not try it out? But you don't want to, when you're looking for a horseback riding place, you're not looking for a horseback riding place that, takes little pony rides around the fence. You want like real intense trail rides that will actually go fast and be fun and exciting, hopefully. So I called a few places. I finally found a horseback riding place that would be exciting and fun. And when I called them up to see if they had availability, see what the prices were, the man, I say I'd like to bring a group on such and such date. The man says to me, well, are you an Orthodox Jewish group? It's the first question that he said to me. Are you an Orthodox Jewish group? So I'm like, yeah, we're a bunch of Orthodox people. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in your business. I said, seriously? You're not interested in what does that mean? He said, every time that I have Orthodox boys come to my program, come to my stable, they are wild animals. They beat my horses. They're nasty to my trail guides. I'm not interested in your business. I'm not interested in having you guys come to us. And I was like a little bit shocked, to be quite honest. My initial response, I thought he was an anti-Semite. But when I heard what he had to say, the truth is sometimes we can, there can be Jewish groups that can get very wild. I didn't ask him where they were from or, what his experience was. But sometimes we can get wild. Sometimes we can get a little bit out of control. Happen to have been, I did say to him, not sure if I should have, but I did. I said, just like there are, African-American people who sometimes, do the wrong thing. That doesn't mean most are very good people. Most African-American people are amazing, special people. Just because some, don't, that doesn't mean that you should judge everyone. So I said the same thing about us. I said, there may have been Orthodox Jews who did the wrong thing, but I can assure you that my group will be very, very well behaved. And ultimately, after a little, because I really wanted to go, and it was actually a very fun experience we had, he did let us go. and I told the guys that they had to be on their perfect behavior. They were. We made a tremendous Kiddush Hashem, and I've actually been in touch with the guy a little bit. I want to show him that Orthodox Jews are actually very special people. Just because sometimes people may act inappropriately and do the wrong thing, that doesn't mean that we're part of that group. So hopefully, as we continue throughout our lives, may each and every one of us think to ourselves, how can I make a Kiddush Hashem? How can I bring Hashem into the world again? Not by telling other people what to do. No one wants to hear us tell them what to do. But by trying to inspire them, by trying to show them, this is what it means to be a Ben Torah. This is what it means to have a relationship with Hashem. This is what it means to take davening seriously and learning seriously, but also being fun and normal and cool and chill. And hopefully all of us will continue to make a Kiddush Hashem, to be Mekadesh Shem Shamayim, wherever we go and whatever we do. And in that merits, may it serve as a refuah sheleimah for Shira Bas Devorah Leah. Everyone have an amazing, amazing day.